Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Let's talk books with Shannon. We are in mid-February, so it is Valentine's month. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you coming up. And so we thought we'd do, of course, we're going to do a romance recommendation video. So instead of choosing like several books from a lot of my favorite authors, I decided to choose one favorite from each of the authors that I love. And well, from some of the authors that I love, but not to go pick more than one from each author because, you know, like Abby Jimenez, I love all of her books, but so I just am picking favorites. So I think I have 12 books, somewhere around there. So we'll jump in and get into some good romances. The first one I'll talk about is my favorite from Ashley Poston. I've only read a few of her books, but this is my favorite, The 7-Year Slip. This one you've probably heard quite a bit about, but if you haven't, this one follows Clementine, and she's a book publicist, and she is grieving the loss of her aunt, who she was very close to. She ends up moving into her aunt's apartment, and one day she walks in and finds a wonderful man there, and he is from 7 years in the past. And of course, she is she is in 7 years in his future. So they, of course, fall for each other and end up navigating that. And it is just written beautifully, and the whole magical element is just wonderful. You know, I know a lot of people have given this 5 stars. I don't remember. I read it more than a year ago, but I think it was definitely over 4 stars for me. So a great book and a great romance if you haven't picked it up yet. Great fun. The next author I'm going to talk about is Christina Lauren. I've read several of her books. My favorite from her thus far, I have a lot more to read from her, on several on my TBR list, but I think I've read 4 or 5 so far. And this is my favorite, Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And in this one, we're following Macy and Elliot, and they were childhood friends, both book lovers, and just growing up, were the best of friends, shared each other's growing pains and you know, favorite words and favorite books, and then something as they become adults, something estranges them, and then of course they have a chance to run in later on, and the story goes from there. But this one has kind of a then and now. Some chapters are from then, some are now, so you're bouncing back and forth from the past to the present in this one. Loved this book. And highly recommend if you haven't picked it up yet. It is my favorite Christina Lauren book, and just a wonderful romance. One a little bit that I read a little bit more recently was Out on a Limb by Shannon, Bonham-young. Loved this one. This one was in my top 25 my top 24 of 2024. This one we follow 2 people with disabilities. Names. Wynn has a deformed hand, and she is very independent and doesn't like to be coddled because of her disability. And we have Bo, who is just lost a leg to cancer and has a prosthetic. And they end up at a Halloween party together and end up hooking up, having what they think is going to be a one-night stand. And this is Wynn ends up getting pregnant. So this is an unexpected pregnancy trope. It's done beautifully, and it's just wonderful. So once she decides to keep the baby, she of course lets Bo know, and they decide to be friends and to try and navigate their parenthood journey together. And so they start out as friends from there and progress. So it was a beautiful story, and I fell in love with Bo in this. He was absolutely wonderful. Okay, my favorite Abby Jimenez book, and I think I've read all of her books, except for the new one I don't know if it's come out yet. But anyway, my favorite Abby Jimenez book is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. And this one, we're following 2 doctors. We're following Brianna and Jacob. And Brianna has a brother that she's very close to who needs a new kidney, and she is just out of a relationship, and she's up for a promotion at the hospital, and she doesn't get it. Dr. Jacob gets it instead, and he has social anxiety, and that's handled beautifully in this book. They end up writing letters to one another, and become friends first, and their relationship takes off. They were actually my favorite romance couple of 2024 together. I just loved them. They were perfect together. So yours truly, Abby Jimenez, great romance. Okay, the next book, Mariana Zapata is an author that I really like. I've only read a couple of her books so far, but I have many on my TBR shelves to read from her. But my favorite that I've read of her so far is All Roads Lead Here. And in this one, we're following Aurora and Tobias. And Aurora is grieving the loss of her mother. And also a breakup. She's just broken up with a musician that she had a relationship with. She decides to take a trip to Colorado, which is where her mom spent a lot of time, and she wants to do a lot of her mom's hikes and things like that. And she ends up renting this apartment. And when Tobias gets there, it's owned by Tobias, but when he gets there, he's not the one who rented it out. It's his son that ended up renting it out. So he says, no, you can't stay here. And they end up negotiating, and so she ends up staying there. And he's very grumpy, and she's very sunshine. And so they kind of bond over time and over hikes and fireside chats, etc. And it's a very slow burn, and which I think many of Mariana Zapata books are. And I absolutely loved it. And I loved the atmosphere. I love the setting. And I'm a hiker myself, so I was able to totally relate to that. And I thought this book was delightful. Sarah Adams. Now, I have Sarah Adams, and I have, good and bad. I have a couple books from her that I did not care for. But I don't know if it's called the When in Rome series. But this one from the When in Rome series, Practice Makes Perfect, I did love very much. I loved When in Rome, too. This is the second book in that series. And the ones I didn't care for as much, the cheat sheet, I wasn't a big fan of. But I feel like, I don't know, they're different authors even writing it, but even though I know they're not. But I love this series, and I'm looking forward to reading the newest one in this series. But this book I absolutely love. These are standalones. They're interconnected, but they're standalones, so you don't have to read them in order. And in this one, we're following Annie and Will. And Annie is, she runs the flower shop in a small town, Rome, and feels like she is boring, and because she overhears one of her dates say that she's boring. And so she feels like she needs some, excuse me, she feels like she needs some help in the dating department. So she hires Will, who is her sister-in-law's bodyguard. And her sister-in-law's famous singer. So she hires him to help her in the dating area. So the story goes from there. Very fun, very short, very fast-paced, lots of fun banter. And I would recommend this book. Okay, Emily Henry. My favorite Emily Henry book would have to be, and I've read most of hers. I think there's one I haven't read. But anyway, my favorite Emily Henry book for romance was A Funny Story. Yes, I liked it better than Happy Place. And I did love Happy Place, and I know that's most people's favorite. But this one I just thought was delightful, and I totally loved the male character Miles in this. So we have Daphne and Miles in this book, and both of them are in relationships. Daphne was engaged, and Miles has a girlfriend. And Daphne's fiance and Miles' girlfriend end up getting together. They were childhood friends, and they end up connecting, and so they break up with both Miles and Aurora. So they find themselves alone and heartbroken, and Daphne ends up moving in with Miles because she really doesn't have anywhere else to go. She was living with her fiance. And Miles is the type, he's just very heartbroken, and he's always listening to sad songs, and he just made me laugh and giggle quite a bit. But anyway, so she moves in with him, and their relationship develops from there. And Emily Henry's writing is fabulous. If you haven't read any of her books, this would be a good one to start with, I think. I also enjoyed Happy Place and Beach Read, but this one is definitely my favorite. I give this one over 4 stars. My favorite Catherine Center book, and I have read 4 or 5 of her books. This one is my favorite so far, The Bodyguard. And if you saw any of my videos from last year, you've heard me mention this book quite often because this book made me laugh quite a bit. We have Jack and Hannah, and Jack is the movie star in this, and Hannah is his bodyguard. And they end up fake dating because Jack has a stalker, and he has to go visit his mom, and he doesn't want his mom to know that he has a stalker and that he needs a bodyguard. So Hannah and Jack fake date, and so that his mom will not worry about him when they go visit. So the book was hilarious. I just thought many points where I was laughing out loud. And actually, I have every intention of rereading this book this year, for sure. So Catherine Center's Bodyguard would definitely be on my list of favorite romances. This one is in a series, but Elsie Silver is one of my favorite series writers. I've read, the Gold Rush Ranch series and the Chestnut Springs series, and I'm in the middle of the Rose Hill series. So I've read quite a few of her books. My favorite in the Chestnut Springs series was Reckless. And this one is, if you haven't read the Chestnut Springs series, this is the fourth book in the Chestnut Springs series. Cowboys, found family, small town. If you like those tropes, this series is definitely for you. They are spicy, so just know that going in. But this one follows Theo and Winter. And Theo is a bull rider. And of course, this one is kind of enemies to lovers in the beginning. So if you like that trope as well. But I think you'll fall in love with Theo. He is delightful. The whole series is wonderful. Again, I don't feel like you have to read them in order. This one was my favorite. Okay, a couple more recent ones. Sports romance. I just recently read, actually in January this year, I had never read Stephanie Archer before. So this is actually my first book by Stephanie Archer, but I have every intention of reading more from her because I love this book, Behind the Net. This was a hockey romance. And in this one, we're following Pippa and Jamie was his name. Yeah, Jamie. And do we have alternating POVs in this? We do. We have alternating POVs, which I always love. So you get both sides of the story. But he is he's a professional hockey player. And actually Pippa and Jamie used to go to high school together. She ends up knocking on his door because he needs an assistant, and she gets sent over to be interviewed because he needs an assistant because his mom is ailing and sick, and he just got a new dog, and of course he's a professional athlete and travels quite a bit, so he needs an assistant. So she ends up getting sent over there, and when he opens the door, they both realize that they know each other from high school, but they don't tell each other that they remember each other, and they both secretly had crushes on each other back in high school. So their story goes from there, but it was loaded with fun banter. And it was one I was looking forward to read each day. I was looking forward to pick it up each day. So, Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. Okay, a couple other recent ones that I read that I am so eager to continue the series on these because I love them so much. These two were romance suspense. And I just picked up Alive and Wells by Bailey Hanna. This was my first book by her. But I'm definitely going to pick up the rest of the series. Again, small town cowboy found family. In this one, let me see if I can. We have Austin. I'm trying to think of the girl's name. Hang on. Cecily. Cecily had an abusive husband, and she, in the very beginning of the story, she is with him, and she is online with a therapy group. And one of the women in the therapy group says, hey, I work on a ranch, and whenever you're ready to get away from your abusive husband, there will be a place for you there. So she does. She leaves and she comes to the ranch, and she falls for Austin, who is cranky and a rancher. And they fall for each other, and it's wonderful. And the found family in this is beautiful, and I'm excited to read about the brothers too. So love this one. Fast paced, very short, and also dual POVs, which I always love. Okay, the last book I'm going to talk about for favorite romances for the month of February is Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. I just read this one in January. She's a new author for me, and I absolutely love this book, and I'm looking forward to reading the second and the third book. Plus, look at this cover. It's fabulous. And in this one, the Bourbon brothers own a bourbon farm in Kentucky. And this one we're following Grant and Laney. Grant is an ex-cop who works on the bourbon farm or the bourbon ranch. And when he was a cop, he also had a girlfriend and co-worker. She was also a cop who ended up dying in the line of duty. And so he is dealing with issues from that. And then Lainey comes to town. She is in the witness protection program. So she has a troubled past as well that she has to keep secret. They end up placing her here and living right near Grant. and they have banter and butt heads, and it's wonderfully fun. And it's a grumpy sunshine trope, so if you like that, I think you'll love this one. It was longer for a romance. It might have been 500 pages. Just over 400. So probably a little longer, but I still loved it. Very spicy also, so just know that going in. I was able to get past it. I thought it was a little too spicy, but I still loved the book, gave it 5 stars. So love this book. Love the concept of the bourbon farm. Love the dog, Julep. Love the brothers. Love the found family. Loved everything about it. Can't wait to read book 2, which I plan on doing very, very soon. So that's a good one. Okay, friends. I think that was so that's 3, 6, 7, 12. So that's 12 romances for the month of February that I recommend. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to hit subscribe, hit like, leave me comments. Love you guys. And please take care of each other. Happy reading.